Or good morning. My name is Alexis Williams, and I'm sorry if you see me looking off to the side. I have my other screen that I'm getting prepared for you all. My name is Alexis Williams. I'm the community manager for Chase Bank here in the Lake Charles area. A little bit about me. I've been in banking for 16 years. I had a small break. What I did go work for the Department of Children and Family. As a community manager, my role is to bring financial resources to underserved areas and to nonprofits and small businesses through a wealth of resources that we offer that could be from financial classes, classes such as this, where we talk about frauds and scams, classes that deal with those who are looking into home ownership, classes to help those prepare for home ownership through budgeting and savings, through credit repair. We also offer workshops for children that start them on their path early on to getting or developing a healthy relationship with their finances and with money, where we start teaching them about saving smart early. We also offer a plethora of workshops to help get those high school seniors and those who want to re-enter into the workforce through programs such as resume building. And we do mock interviews where we will have a panel of interviewers to interview those to kind of get them comfortable with sitting and preparing themselves for an interview. But today I would like to talk to you all about frauds and scams. I do not work particularly in one branch. I work throughout several branches. However, I have noticed that my time throughout all of the branches that right now frauds and scams are very, very, very rapid in this area. So what I want to talk about is some of the most common frauds and scams that are out there. I don't know if I would be able to share my screen. I do have a presentation that I could share.
Yes, all you have to do is go to your other screen and hit share screen. It's a green button in the middle of the bottom.
Wanted to make sure. I'm so sorry that my dogs have decided that this is the time that they want to let their voices be known. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry about the animals. So this is typically geared towards the elderly community, but we all can fall victims of this, which is scams. The objective of this is to recognize and reduce the risk of financial scams and exploitations, to guard against identity theft, plan for unexpected loss and ability to manage your finances, prepare financially for disasters, find other resources to help you manage money, and to report financial exploitation. So who's at risk for, this says senior financial exploitation, but we all are at risk for financial exploitation. There is no given person who can say that they cannot be victimized. So anyone can be at risk for scams or frauds. In this area, one of the rule of thumbs that I have been telling definitely small businesses is to make sure that your systems are up to date. It's very important. We just had a very big system breach in the Lake Charles area, where the scammers are now getting very, very smart in how they're doing things. Typically, they used to hit for high dollar amounts. High dollar amounts are easier to catch compared to the smaller amounts. Now, scammers are now hitting for $22, $24, $20, $15, 49 cents. If it goes through and they know that that account is active, so then they can start going for the higher dollar amounts. But in some instances, if you don't catch the first one, then the following month, what they'll do is they will hit for the same exact amount, or it may be a couple of pennies off. So what I always like to tell is a rule of thumb: make sure your system is up to date. If your systems that you all are using for your small businesses or wherever you're using your cards, it's a good rule of thumb to make sure that is up to date, because if it's not, scammers are becoming more and more intelligent with how they're going about retrieving finances from others. But nobody, I mean, we all can be a victim of a scam. So what is financial exploitation? Fraudulent activity, unauthorized transactions, or somebody acting or imposing as if they're acting or being an imposter. So they're saying that they're you and they may not be. These are individuals who are doing this to gain funds from that person. In our community, the elderly are typically more prone because they may lack some of the technology that we all are so accustomed to. So like if somebody calls and says that their computer has a malware or a virus on it, they may be more prone, instead of to looking into that company that's calling before just giving out their information. This is really one of the main reasons that we do focus a lot on our senior elderly community, because of that, for that reason right there. As state, I'm sorry. As stated before, anyone can be a victim of financial exploitation. One of, like I said, like I stated before, senior financial exploitation across all social, educational, and economic backgrounds. It is more prone for them because some of them are just not as technology savvy as those who are younger, that we grew up more with the technology. Why are older adults more so at risk than others? They have regular income and they have accumulated assets. So regular income, they have their retirement, their pension, their social security, all of that is coming into play. They're very trusting and polite. So they're more prone to be optimistic. They're more prone to be more welcoming to people. So that leaves them more of a vulnerable risk, because a lot of people play off of that vulnerability of them being so trustworthy and so polite. Depending on their situation, if they're suffering a loss, or if they're living on their own with family that may not be near, that could also be a reason. And if there's something that's happening to them, they feel as though they may not have anyone to tell, because they don't want to be embarrassed, because they are older, and so they should know how to spot some of these things out. So one of those, that's one of some of the main reasons why older adults are at risk for this. They are dependent on support from family members or caregivers to remain independent. So they want to keep their independency. They want to keep themselves in a position where they remain independent. And so if somebody was to financially exploit them, it's more prone that they won't tell anybody. This is continued more so information. If somebody with the older adults or with any adults, some of the more common schemes that we are seeing in this area, Lake Charles, is that they're calling stating that a grandparent stating that they have a grandchild who is out of the country, and who, if they don't send $2,000, then they're not going to see their grandchild again. If you're a type of person who won't call to check on that grandchild, you're more prone to use that as a mechanism to get money, because if somebody calls and says that your family member is at a risk for not being able to see them again because they're overseas and stuck, you're going to be more prone to do what you can to get that person back. Some of the other ones would be not planned for the potential loss or decision-making capacity, being cognitively impaired with diminished ability to make financial decisions or detect fraud or scam. So some people This is just not excluding the elderly community, may not have the cognitive skills in order to know that they're being scammed or not. Be dependent on a family member or another person who may pressure them for money. We do see a lot of that, more so in families where a family member is pressuring that person for money. So that is one, also another common trend that we do have in this area. So some of the examples of financial exploitation would be some people who would do it with a power of attorney. If they're the primary caregiver of a loved one, they could use those funds that are coming in and be able to withdraw them by using a power of attorney. There's different type of investment frauds and scams, theft of money or property by family members, caregivers, in-home helpers, or the lottery sweepstakes. You won $30 million, but in order to get your $30 million, you need to send us $1,500. So those are several examples. Those are not just the only examples, but those are the ones that are definitely more of the common trends that we are seeing in this area. So the grandparent and imposter syndrome and grandparent and imposter scams, that's one of the ones that I just spoke about, how that was definitely very prevalent in this area, where they are calling grandparents and parents and saying that their child is overseas and that they need to send money in order to get their child back. Tax and debt collection scams, those are definitely on the rise, especially with the scammers becoming more used, or they're now using numbers that are more common. So they're calling more so from numbers that like 337s, or if your area code on your phone is different, they're calling from those area code numbers. Romance or charity scams, those are also very prevalent, that you're dating a person from overseas that you've never met, they're asking for money. Telemarketing, mail offer, or salesperson scams, which are also those scams that they're becoming very smart by using different phone numbers to call. So these are just some examples. This is not all of them, but these are just the ones that are definitely more prevalent in this area of Lake Charles at this moment. Telephone, computer, and internet scams. That one's the one. They have actually started sending the text messages saying that you need to text this number or call this number to pay this bill, or your credit card has been blocked, call this number. Those are definitely some of the ones that they're doing now via text messaging. Identity theft, reverse mortgage fraud, contractor fraud, and home improvement scams. We've definitely seen a lot of the contractor fraud and home improvement scams with our recent dealings with Hurricane Laura and Hurricane Delta, where contractors are coming in, over-promising, they're getting their first couple of payments, and then they're not delivering the services, or they're just completely leaving. So those are some of the more prevalent scams, like I said, that we are seeing in this area of Lake Charles. Who are some of the main abusers who pull fraud and scams? Are people you know. Typically, they're people that you have built relationships with, family members and caregivers. They have easy access to your personal information, or they know your personal information, friends, neighbors, or acquaintances. Those who have the power of attorneys, and financial advisors, because they know most of your personal information. They know the information, your financial information. So those are typically some of the abusers. Then, as stated previously, there are those who are fishing for information. So those are the people that are calling or emailing. They're fishing for you to give them your information. As I just stated, those strangers, those are the ones that are fishing for your information. They do telephone and mail scammers, internet scammers, home repair contractors, Medicare scam operators. We do not see that a lot in this area. Romance scammers, we do see that in this area, but not as prevalent. So some of the reasons why it's hard to stay on top of fraud and scam is because sometimes people, and it says, why don't older adults report exploitation. This is just not for the older generation. This is just for those in general. Shame and embarrassment. They may know who has done it, and so they have the loyalty to that person. They don't want to see something happen to that person. There could be a fear of retaliation or not being believed. Dependence on the abuser, like they depend on that person. In denial, self-blame, or lack of awareness, where they're taking on that it happened to them and it was their fault, they caused it, or they should have known better. We do see a lot of that, especially when it's somebody in the family who may have gotten a debit card or a checkbook. We do see that those people are more prone to not say anything, or when they do come forward, to not give enough information to where we could actually help them, because they're in fear of retaliation, or they do not want that person to get in trouble. So for those who know or have experienced something such as like elderly abuse or elderly financial abuse, here is some information that they can use to contact for senior abuse. It's the Adult Protection Services, which is eldercare.acl.gov, or they can call the 1-800 number at 677-1116, or the local police at 911. So if you are a business owner or know any business owners and you have clients that come in who may have stated that they may have been a victim of fraud or scam, you are at liberty to report it. You can report it to your bank, your credit union. You can contact the creditor directly. You can contact your credit bureaus. There's so many avenues that you could use to contact for that. So, you know, if you have any other questions or any other additional information, or want any other different additional information on how to report that, you would need to go to consumerfinance.gov/askcfpb/. So this goes a little bit more in detail with the scams that we do see that's more prevalent in this area. This talks about the lottery and sweepstakes scams. Of course, we see this a lot due to us having the casinos right here. A lot of people tend to think, because of the casinos, that more of the lottery and sweepstakes scams are real, in which reality they're not. I really highly doubt that Golden Nugget or LaBerge is calling people to tell them that they win. The scammers may call, email, or text regarding lotteries, request upfront processing fees or taxes, and they may send authentic looking claims checks and pose as an attorney for winners. So there's so many ways in which they are doing this now. And being that we are in an area that do have casinos, this is definitely something that we see often because of us having a casino here. We do see that. So some of the tips for avoiding these scams is just knowing that most likely, like I stated, Golden Nugget and LaBerge most likely are not going to call you to tell you that you won. You would never have to pay to play. So meaning you should have to pay a processing fee. Now there are instances where, like, if you're getting garnished, that's one thing, but you would never have to pay for you to receive your winnings. Be very suspicious if they're asking you to wire some money to a person or to a company. Pay attention to warnings from your financial institution. If the caller claims an emergency, check it out at the number you know to be valid. So if they're saying that they're calling from this number, take some time out of your busy schedule, take some time out to take 2 or 3 minutes to look up the number on Google and then see if it's an actual correct number, or see if the number's a legit number. So computer and internet scams, those are definitely ones that are growing, which is basically where they're calling and saying that your computer now has a virus and they're asking for information for you to verify who you are. Well, they're doing that, or they're sending emails asking for information. And when you're sending them the information, they're now gathering your information to either hack into your system or to use that information to go into your web browser to access things such as your bank account, your bank account information. They may ask you very, very specific questions, date of birth, your name, things that if it was something that's legit, that they should be able to tell you because they would have that information in front of you. So that would be what a computer internet scams. They use web pages that look legit, but they're not. You have to make sure when you're looking at email addresses, make sure that the email addresses are email addresses that don't look as if they may have a misspelling or too many digits, or say for instance, there's one, it's like Vogue.com, which is the regular Vogue site. Then they have Vogue Me, which is glasses. Then they have like Vogue Me Too, which is also glasses, but it's not a proper link. It's a scam. So you're sending your credit card information to purchase an item, and come to find out the item's not real. So some of the ways to look at that is make sure you look at the email addresses, make sure it's an email address you do know of, or an email address that you have received emails from or that you're familiar with. Look at the language in the emails. If it says something, like the example given, we suspect an unauthorized transaction on your account. To ensure your account is not compromised, please click the link below and identify. Okay, so definitely look at that. I always tell myself to not click any links in emails. I would prefer to be the one to reach out to the company if I received the email. It says, during our regular verification of accounts, we couldn't verify your information. Click here to update and verify your information. That is a tall tale sign that it's most likely them trying to fish for your information. Or something is, our records indicate your account was overcharged. Call us to receive your refund. Okay, if my account's overcharged, I'm not going to call the number that they gave me. I'm going to take 30 seconds to look up the number for myself and see what number that I find on file, and then call that company directly and speak to them directly. Always try to be very leery of using the information that they provide to you, just because you never know if that information is legit or not. So it would behoove you to take the couple of moments to instead look for the company themselves and get the accurate number, because some of the companies couldn't have a number that's literally off by 1 digit. Computer internet safeguards: use trusted security software and update regularly. That's very important for small businesses, because once a small business is hacked or their system is hacked into, that is a lot of information that not only affects the small business owner, but also affects their clientele. And most likely, we kind of laugh at it, but most likely people will tell you, if you have a good experience somewhere, you're only going to tell 5 to 10 people. But if you have a horrible experience somewhere, you're going to tell 20 to 25 people. So it would definitely hurt hurt a small business if they were to be hacked and their credit card information was stolen and their customers' information was stolen, and they have to, notify their clients of that. Next thing you know, that's going to be something that client's going to probably tell somebody else, who's going to tell somebody else. So always make sure that you're using trusted security software and make sure it's updated. Make sure that you're not emailing any type of financial information or account numbers, any type of attachments. Make sure you know where they're coming from and that they're trusted and secure. Use passwords that are definitely hard to guess. Do not use the same password. Do not use the same password and change just the numbers. Use passwords that may have both combinations of numbers and symbols, but not together. So If you're using some words, throw some numbers in the middle and throw some symbols in the middle, and then end it with some more numbers, and then end it along with some more words so that it can be a little hard to guess. And never store your passwords or write them down. You know, if you're going to store them somewhere, make sure it's a trusted security software system that you're storing your passwords with. When you're not using your PC, make sure to keep it shut down. Do not, I know I'm very guilty of this, just putting my computer on sleep mode, but it is very, very, very important to make sure that you shut that down. Do not give your computer control to your computer to a third party, which is another part of the internet and computer scams where they say, you have a virus, we need to go into your computer to make sure everything's okay. Once you do that, they now have liberty to do whatever, to access whatever information that they have. So be very leery of doing something like that. Do not rely on caller ID alone to authenticate a caller. We all know that the scammers are now having phone numbers that come with names that look very familiar, along with the area codes that look very familiar. So don't rely on that to be a trustworthy source. Like I stated earlier, that scammers are becoming very, very, very smart. And so they may use a number and it may be one digit off of the actual number. So be very, very careful of that. Be cautious of those posing as tech support. Use the tech support that's listed either on the package, on your receipt, or when you go and look up the actual company, use that. Visit, if you want some additional information on how to better protect yourself from this, you can visit onguardonline.gov. onguardonline.gov, excuse me. So to respond to a phishing attack, most companies have a cybersecurity that they can send. If you feel like you've been a victim of phishing, you can send that email to that company. It says, do not open any message from an unfamiliar sender. If you open some suspicious message, be sure to delete it. Do not click on anything in that email. Delete the text message. Do not confirm or provide any personal information. If you're concerned about the account, then you should call the number on your statement. So call your financial institution and let them know what's going on. I know some banks do provide a number to where if there's phishing for your information, you can forward that email to that company, which is like to that cybersecurity area, so that they can see if that is a legit email or not. But make sure not to click anything, do not provide any information, and do not use the telephone numbers or the links given. So if you downloaded malware from a scam tech support, update or download your legitimate software and scan your computer. Delete anything that says that it's a problem and change your passwords immediately. If you paid for a bogus tech support service, dispute with your credit card provider. So this is another thing where it's very important to make sure to do your due diligence and to make sure that the company is a reputable company and it's a legitimate company, because depending on how fast you realize that the malware that you've downloaded was legitimate, it doesn't take them that long to get your information. So if you were to ever do it, update or download some legitimate software and run a scan on your computer, delete anything that has been identified as a problem, and change your passwords. So do all three of those things. And if you're concerned about your accounts, be sure to contact your financial institution as well. Identity theft. This is where people steal your personal information, such as your social security number, birth date, credit card and account numbers, PINs and passwords, and they pose to be you. They open up new accounts in your name. They do everything. They open up credit cards, new purchases, So be very careful of where you store this sensitive information. Be very vigilant, like when you're accessing this information, if you're accessing this information in public, be sure to make sure that there's nobody behind you or around you to see that. So that's identity theft. So some of the things that you can do to safeguard yourself from identity theft is protect your personal information, protect incoming and outgoing mail, sign up for direct deposits so that you don't have to have checks, use a shredder to destroy any sensitive information, financial trash. So anything with account numbers, your personal information on it, be sure to shred it. Make sure to monitor your bank accounts and your credit card bills. Avoid come-ons for personal information. You review your credit report annually and your report for any fraudulent activity. So you can get a free credit report on annualcreditreport.com. One rule of thumb that I do like to tell people is make sure that you do check that annually and sit down with all 3 reports to make sure that they're reporting the same information or close to the same information, and to also be sure that there's no information on there that needs to be disputed that you may not know of, or that you may have seen that shows that you could have possibly have been a victim of identity theft. So fraud alert SSA, we do see this where scammers attempt to open a fake My Social Security online account using personal information on ssa.gov. They're less likely to succeed. It's definitely a lot of questions that are asked. So in order to do that, but that is something that that is definitely more prevalent in the elder community, where they do try to use that information to open up a Social Security account in efforts to try to scam them out of their Social Security. So if somebody notifies you that there was an account that was tried or attempted to be open on SSA, My Social Security, then the only thing you would need to do is call the Social Security customer service number, which is 1-800-772-1213. Again, that number is 1-800-772-1213. And this allows you to report that information to them directly so that it could put a freeze or a block to make sure that nobody else is going to try to access that information. If you are a victim of identity theft, the first thing to do is place an initial fraud alert with your major credit card company, reporting companies. You need to request your copies of your credit report and make your identity theft report. Consider placing a freeze on all accounts, banking and credit accounts, to be sure of that. If you're a victim, you will need to contact the Federal Trade Commission and call 1-877-ID-THEFT. That's 1-877-438-4338, and visit the Federal Trade Commission, which is identitytheft.gov. So if we were in person, we would have this resource guide that would allow you to review each response and list, indicate how often you perform certain actions, and tally your score to see how well you're doing to make sure you're taking measures to avoid identity theft. We are now at the end of our identity theft presentation. Is there any, well, this is a webinar. I'm not sure if there's any questions, but if you have any questions, I will leave my information in the comment section and you will be able to contact me. If you have any employees or small businesses who you may want to give this knowledge to, you can also contact me and I will be more than willing to do this presentation for them. And I'm going to turn it back over to you all.
It doesn't look like we have any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off of Facebook Live. And thank you so much for presenting today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.